Welcome back to Kaulignation, your one-stop shop for all things Kaulig Racing, Dingernation, SVGNation, and all things NASCAR. I'm Sean. Thank you for joining me on this Monday afternoon. And the Monster Mile at Dover is in the books. One of my personal favorite racetracks, and I could sit here and say it went great for all three of the guys that we primarily cover, but for two of them, it was an absolute disaster. And for one of them, well, he's punching his ticket to the finals, which we will talk about shortly. Big shout out to our channel sponsors, Lynn over at SVG Nation on Facebook, Alex over at Dingernation. It would be hard to do what we do without their support. Also, don't forget to check out our Patreon, which we will be recording more content for later tonight. Right now, you can check out why SVG is the king of the road courses for one video and the first episode of our Kaulig and Trackhouse Nation podcast. That's available on there as well, where we talk about the NASCAR charter drama and why Dodge is targeting SVG, Connor Zilish, and Ross Chastain of Trackhouse Racing. Before we go any further, our multiple choice question for this video is: do you think that SVG's crew chief yesterday should have listened to him earlier when SVG said there was a problem with the car? We were talking about it in our staff chat. They didn't react right away to it. Ultimately, I don't think it would have changed their fortunes and what happened if he'd come a couple laps earlier because he was pitting under green. But let us know your thoughts below. It was quite quiet at the time on his radio while SVG was trying to tell them he had an issue. All right, let's dive into it. So we are going to talk about SVG and what happened with him at Dover. We are going to talk about Ty Dillon advancing to the finals of the NASCAR In-Season Challenge. But let's start with Dover itself as a race. I thought it was a solid race. I think it's a wonderful racetrack. It might be my first or second favorite oval on the schedule. Now, don't get me wrong. I like super speedway racing as much as anybody. Um, but Dover is something else. Like the way the rubber lays down on the racetrack. You start off, and essentially at the beginning of the race, there's only one driving line. But as the race goes on, it creates a second one and a third one, and it gives you three different places that you can, really three different lines that you can utilize in order to gain track position. And if you're really good at one of those lines, you're decent. If you can be really good at two of those lines, you're going to pass a lot of cars. But if you're good in all three lines, well, then you're probably going to go win the race like Denny Hamlin did yesterday. Let's get to AJ Allmendinger. Another just completely blown opportunity for the 16 Kaulig Racing Chevrolet. Um, they started 17th by the metric. They had the competition caution, and it was very clear on the long run. AJ was one of the best cars on the entire track. He was gaining on the leader, well, advancing positions. He restarted 17th or 16th after the restart, fought his way all the way up to eighth place, I believe it was. He had just passed eighth place when the caution, not the caution, but when the tire let go with one lap to go. The concerning thing here is the tires were really bad. I looked at the tires off that car, and to say they were atrocious would be an understatement, but AJ wasn't feeling much at the time. He was fairly quiet on the radio. Um, and so he goes to the back. Want to say he restarted 28th, raced his way all the way back up to 16th, passing all those cars again. And then he said there was a brake issue. I think what they determined is a wheel bearing blew right off, which is obviously super dangerous. They asked him if he could try riding it out, and he said, "Fuck that! I'm going to die out here." Pardon my language, but that's exactly the language that AJ used. Just truly disappointing because on speed he was running anywhere from first place to fourth place lap times for a large chunk of that long run, passing cars pretty well at ease, gaining on everybody, and to have two of the last three Dover races end in equipment failure is just, it's unacceptable. I can't sit here and say what the team could have done differently. I'm not placing the blame squarely on the team, but at the end of the day, it is an equipment failure, and the equipment did not hold up. And that's now two of the last three Dover races where this has happened. AJ was running like sixth or seventh place when he lost the brakes at the first Dover race. Then last year, he ended up finishing 13th, but ran into issues. And then this year, like, had a car that could have possibly gone up there and contended for a win even. And instead, he goes to the garage early, and just another disastrous result during crunch time. And speaking of crunch time, we are going to have a Patreon video available tomorrow for all of you at our checkered flag tier, talking about crunch time for AJ Allmendinger and Shane Van Gisbergen, the tale of two stories. You won't want to miss that. That'll be available on Patreon at patreon.com/Kaulignation. Subscribe today. We would appreciate the support. All right, so SVG's day was done before it even got started, really. He took the green flag. Look, it's not a great position to be in. Sixth place, no practice time, no qualifying time. You've turned no real laps at Dover in this Cup car, which drives way different than the Xfinity car, and you got to start sixth. So I knew right away SVG was going to get passed by a bunch of cars. That's not a knock on him. That's a very dangerous track. You know how many cars hit the outside of turn two yesterday? A ton. Sometimes you hit it hard, sometimes you just scrape it, but it just sneaks up on you with the banking and the exit of two. You come up and you hit that wall. And the problem is, if you try to avoid it too much, you oversteer and turn yourself into the inside wall. We seen that happen um, basically to Christopher Bell last night towards the end of the race. And I know there was one other time it happened too, but I can't remember who it was. It sneaks up on you. So S3G was just being careful. He clearly felt something. He clearly has an amazing feel for what's going on with the tires of the car, because he got cursed with what AJ got cursed with. We mentioned in our last video, AJ Allmendinger almost won this race many years ago for RPM in the number 43 Insignia Ford, and had a monstrous lead at the Monster Mile on second place, and he ran over a 10-cent washer, which punctured the tire. And essentially the same thing happened to SVG yesterday. And look, when you go I think it was 4 laps down right out of the gate at Dover, unless you get a parade of cautions really early on, your day is done. You just cannot make up that amount of laps. I seen he was running P22 to P25 lap times, but was he really given a full effort after that happened early on? Hard to say. Hard to take home much of it at all, but he did go out there and did complete the race and got more experience at that track, and I'm assuming he'll feel a lot more comfortable next time around at Dover. And last but not least, Ty Dillon makes a late pass on John Hunter Nemechuk to put himself in position to advance to the finals when the final caution came out, making him the lucky dog, sealing the deal that Ty Dillon will take the Cinderella story all the way to the finish line. 32nd seat, last place. He's going to the finish line next week, coming up at Indianapolis. Ty Gibbs is going to be the heavy favorite to win there with the equipment that he uses, and Kaulig usually drastically lacks speed at tracks like Indy and Michigan, but anything can happen. I wouldn't count out Ty Dillon at this point. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications to all, share the video. Check us out on Patreon for bonus content, patreon.com/Kaulignation, and we will see each and every one of you in the next video.